is that darn Cardi Jew? They're making us robbing us look horrible. Hello everyone again. ben-Emmett here with special, very quick edition, heart to heart, no transcript, nothing premeditated other than what Elohim revealed to me in synagogue today. And Parsha Noach, yes. The Torah Watchman Show here again, humble Cardi host. Yes, I am so thankful to be here again with you so quickly. I've been working all day overtime, literally, to get my production effort out to my listening audience, and it's growing for my company on YouTube. It will be it's already produced, and it has to be uploaded. That takes a little while for high definition. I use a green screen for my movies in case anyone's curious. I might just do someday a how-to and how to do it. You may want to do it for yourself. It's very easy, very simple. Why allow Steven Spielberg have all the credit? Anyway, the title of this special edition of Torah Watchman Show, which is an addendum to Parashat Noach, is the tears of Elohim. The tears of Elohim. Now, it's all too human to ascribe human characteristics to our Divine Father, to our Tati, to our King, to our Divine Creator, to Jehovah, our God, our Lord, Adonai. We have many ways and many positions as Jews to refer to God. The rabbis like Hashem because they're afraid to say the true name of God. Even though the great-grandmother of King David, a Moabite, had no problems ascribing her love and devotion to Naomi, her mother-in-law, her heart desire to join the nation of Israel by saying, Asher Yehovah Alahakam. But the tears of Elohim, when I went to the synagogue today, they let me carry the Torah, which is a tradition. I let everyone kiss it and be blessed and interact with it with prayer books and with their tzizit and other things of that nature. I just heard a message in my mind continually about tears of Elohim. What am I talking about? Well, we're talking about the great flood event, historic flood event, great extinction event during the time of Noah. And we're talking about probably, I'd say, 4,500 years ago or longer, up to close to 5,000 years ago. And if you think for a moment that it was easy thing for the Divine Creator to snuff out all life on the beautiful planet Earth, Haaretz, that he took such great pride before all of his angels, all the Malachim, his heavenly court of Shamayim. If you think he did this in hastiness or just rash anger, you're wrong. Listen, our God is not like a man. Is not a son of man. He doesn't think the way we do. Even though we're created in his image, we ascribe human attributes to God. But God is God, and we are his creation. We are the creature. He's the creator. But just as God is endued with us any number of human emotions, and we're encouraged by God to stay in the positive lane, it's very, very difficult to stay there all the time because we don't have a sunny day weather in our life. We essentially live from convenience to convenience, and when those inconveniences come, we just break apart. If we're not strongly rooted in the Torah. But the Divine Creator took great pride in everything he created. I'm not going to take you back, but in Bereshit, the book of Genesis, in the very first several chapters, the 6 days, not only was his creation good, it was very good. And it was a bragging point before the Malachim and the angels. Everyone sung the glorious praise of God, of Elohim, the hallelujahs and chorus and everything else, especially when Adam and Havla were created. So unique from the other animals. But Adam and Havla made a serious mistake and error. Of course, they fell. And they were kicked out of that divine, supernal area of Garden Eden. And Garden Eden was just raptured away out of space-time from the rest of the earth. Humanity went two different directions. The descendants of Cain went to depravity, to absolute immorality, murderous, thievery, whatever you can imagine, the greatest of all evils. Cain's descendants produced that. But the descendants of Seth were much different than the descendants of Cain. Seth continued the legacy, the blessed memory of his brother Abel that was murdered by Cain. But it's something I want to bring up to you. You have one context. You have a grieving creator God that is like a father to all his creations. Even the smallest horseshoe crab, or the bird in the field, or a dolphin, a porpoise in the ocean. He cared about every single thing, crustaceans, snakes, insects, every phyla, every species. He was so premeditated in his creative acts. He took great pride. On the seventh day he rested, because he said, when it's perfect, you don't have to go on creating over and over again, and not even cover the expanse of the heavenlies. All the hundreds of millions of galaxies out there and celestial objects, we're just now being able to touch the edge of the iceberg to explore infinity through technology like the Webb Space Telescope. So for a divine creator, for a father to all of his creation, all the investments he made, especially in mankind, was created in the image of God, in his own image. He said, let us make man in our own image, to give him a freedom of will and choice, to have a living neshama within us, right? He breathed it within us. It's very personal, Elohim has with us. And back in my synagogue experience today, this morning, and we were reading about Noah, but I was asking myself, how do we get to beautiful creation in Bereshit in the beginning of the creation event, and getting to a point where God said, I grieve that I ever created mankind. How can God say it was perfect and very good and have great delight to say, I'm finished on the seventh day? On the other hand, say, I grieve and regret that I ever created mankind. Why? Because the direction of sin and deprivation of the descendants of Cain, and that's where I'm at. There's many points of view about the Nephilim, okay? There's many points of views. Most rabbinics, more than orthodoxy, fall back on Rashi and Ramdbam and other sages between the 11th and 12th century, leading up to the 15th century, when the Talmud as we know it, love or hate it, was codified. There's one point of view that the words in Hebrew, and I can read the Torah, I can read Hebrew now, thank God. I was not born with a Hebrew spoon in my mouth, and neither was my wife. We learned it the hard way through just studying and being trained and paying experts to teach us and things of this nature. But one day we'll be secondhand, it really will. And I look forward to one day speaking Israeli Hebrew in my home. I'm not there yet, but I aspire to be. So the phrase there in chapter 6, verse 2, and I'm going to show you on the board the exact Hebrew and let you decide what you think. Chabad shows the Hebrew on one side and shows the English translation on the other side. This is actually the Art Scroll English translation, which is renowned to be for its accuracy and preciseness. It's actually a word-for-word translation. But there's many inconsistencies of what I say to be accurate and true when you have rabbinate influences in determining on what they want you to know to be true, other than the truth that's embedded in, not so hidden, is clear, is black and white in the Torah. And I'm talking about the word B'nai Elohim. And something is very unique about the book of Bereshit, the first book of the 5 books of Moshe, of the Torah, is that you don't have the other, I'd say, more advanced names of God, like El Shaddai, El Elyon. You don't have those other names. You have Elohim predominantly through the entire book, leading up to the time of Abraham, where he learns other names from Melchizedek. What I'm saying is, the phrase about sons of God, and in chapter 6, it talks about a rationale, a game plan why Elohim was even considering destroying humanity as we knew it and preserving humanity, the only uncorrupted genome that was through Shem, that was through Seth, leading up to Noach, and would be passed down through Shem, his most righteous of his 3 sons. What I want to point out here is the phrase sons of God. If you read literally in Hebrew, and if you read before, in the middle, and after, like essentially a geometric puzzle of hypotheses and postulates and theorems, and you get to fact from fiction and guess. It says very clearly, the sons of God. Now, in that phrase, you immediately think that's Malachim, because Malachim of God, when you're of God like that, he's not talking about men per se in the strict sense of that context in Hebrew, straight Hebrew. I'm talking about English translation. But if you take one logical thought here, okay, let's take the first with the rabbinates. They say from the spawn of the sons of nobles or rulers who desired the beautiful daughters of men to the end of actually having multiple wives and stealing virgins from their fathers and stealing wives from other people, just taking and pillaging villages and communities because they were so great and so elite and so wealthy, and abusing the peasant per se in the lower class of that time frame. The descendants of Khan, I was told you, is but as evil as it could get as far as the way people were treating one another. Murderous, selfish. It says robbers, not talking about bank robbers. It's talking about taking something that does not belong to you through violence and ascribing it to yourself. Essentially what it is. Personal property or people, okay? Forcing people into slavery. Raping people. And abusing people and destroying and murdering their reputation. That is the interpretation of the rabbinates. They changed the words from sons of Elohim to sons, in English, sons of rulers or nobles. And I've read this several times. And I've read the commentary of the Mishnah Torah. And I've read what Rashi says. There's a reason why they have this interpretation. But that is an interpretation of the Art Scroll edition of the bilingual Tanakh or Chumash. You'll see the English translation says clearly in that phrase, chapter 6 of Bereshit, verse 2, says sons of rulers or nobles, with commentary justifying that opinion. And I emphasize opinion. However, if you get a Bible Tanakh, and I have these, that was through the Jewish Publication Society, and they're not per se a word-for-word translation, they're more of a phrase for phrase and a word-for-word translation. And they have, in English, they have sons of God. So who's right and who's wrong? Well, context is the devil and details of everything. So the thing is, if you believe in the theorem per se, and what it is a theorem, it's a guess, based on any total array of evidential opinions and observations, analytics, whatever. They say from the spawn of the sons of rulers and women that they pretty much brutalized and had children through them, they became a race of giants known as the Nephilim. And it says briefly, it doesn't say a lot, but it says these were great men of great renown. You could say there may be Highlanders of their time, or maybe great strength, like you think about Hercules, and Zeus. In Greek mythology, Zeus liked to play around with virgins all the time, and demigods and things like that. That's not Jewish. It's not in Judaism. I don't even believe in that. We believe fundamentally that Malachim are soldiers of God, messengers of God. That's what Malachim means, messenger of God. Satan is a messenger of God and is tasked for a specific purpose of persecuting virtue in humans. Well, Satan had his job, he really had the biggest job of his existence, and he was working day and night because he had so much virtue or lack of to prosecute and report it before the heavenly court. So if you believe on the other theorem there, that the sons of God, Malachim, desired the beautiful daughters of men and somehow connected to them from the supernal spiritual to the corporeal or finite in such a way to produce offspring, it created something greater and phenomenally super as far as their reputation and what they accomplished and great renown. In other words, they were known for centuries of their time as probably the greatest of all humans of the world, the pre-flood times. So again, how did a race of Homo sapiens? There's only been one race of humans, and then anthropologists claim that there were Neanderthals and other subtypes of humans. I don't believe that. I believe Adam and Havilah and their children were Homo sapiens, as Homo sapien as I am. But Nephilim, which just means the spawn of the great ones, or nobles and rulers, were giants of men. Think about Goliath, but think about people that were not only high in stature, but were very strong, and probably very intelligent, and probably had great control as rulers over multitudes of people, and ruling just by their strength and their will and their intellect, I would guess. The so-called story of fallen angels and everything else, spawning Nephilim, it's all over the Christian map. I'm not going there. Okay? Angels are Malachim who are assigned specific tasks and roles, both on this planet, among mankind, as ministering spirits, and also for reporting authority to the heavenly court before Elohim. Like Jacob's ladder, we went into that before. Now, Satan has a specific job and role. And Satan is not by himself doing all this mischievous things like he did and God's servant Job, nearly took his life away, took everything away. Because God said, look at my servant Job. He's more righteous than any person of his time. And Satan challenged Elohim like he's supposed to do. It's his job. He's only righteous because you give him his way and you give him everything. You take everything away from him, he will rebuke you and reject you as his God and prefer death over the life that I'm going to destroy before your eyes. Satan has legions of angels that report to him. Just like Gabriel and Michael and Raphael and other archangels like that, they have minions of angels that report to them in some sort of hierarchy of structure of command. If you had, say, 500,000 people that were comprised of the Nephilim and their ruling class and people that were under them and supported them in the so-called government hierarchy, per se, then you had a lot of human activity for these adversarial angels working for Satan to do what they were tasked to do, is to create total chaos. And that's exactly what happened. Now, angels do not force their will upon human beings. They do not possess human beings like you see in the Exorcist. It doesn't happen that way. But they can tempt people and seduce them if they are looking for that temptation. The progeny or ancestry of Khan was predisposed to do evil in every generation. That's why the entire generation minus Noah's generation was wiped out from the face of the earth. Getting back to the tears of Elohim. God took no pleasure in destroying mankind. And you think about all the rain that fell, not just the water that came out, ascended up from the deep bowels of the earth. Scientists say they discovered a great, great massive ocean still underneath the earth. And most of the water on the planet during that time, pre-flood, was inside the earth's crust. And through tectonic shift, continents splitting apart and everything, volcanic activity, all this water came up. But it also was conjoined with water coming for the first time from very thick cumulonimbus clouds and storms. Tornadoes, just humongous meteorological phenomenal events that never happened on Earth's history during that time. But I envision today in synagogue that rain falling was the tears of the heavenly kabod, the tears of Elohim, weeping for 40 days and 40 nights. That's how long the rain fell. Feeling that I had to destroy mankind to be able to save it. You heard me right. Elohim takes no pride at all, judging and punishing the wicked. He does it. You can read in Ezekiel chapter 18, verses 20, 21, 22, and 23. It's very clear and black and white there, that truth there. He does not desire to destroy the wicked. He does not desire anyone to stay in Gehenna. He wants everyone to be in Sheol and in the idyllic environment of Eden. That's where most rabbis think that righteous Jews go when they die and they depart this earth-being plane. But the verses again, sons of God, sons of rulers, Torah says sons of Elohim. And I talked to a Jew today about this at synagogue. The prevailing opinion is that these were not angelic creations of God. I'm sure the angels look at God as their father. God created them, right? Just as God created us. And there is definitely a father and child kind of dynamic there, both between God and his angels and God and us, right? But I want to be very clear here. The word Elohim is predominantly used throughout the Jewish Bible, or Tanakh, the Torah, as referring to God or gods. And in the context of judges and rulers, is always those righteous people that are chosen by God, and never for polytheistic or evil people. You can see how this puzzle or how this model construct completely falls apart if you go with a literal, verbatim, contextual Hebrew. B'nai Elohim means sons of Elohim, instead of sons of men or Adam or rulers or nobles or kings, or however you want to do that. Now, and my conclusion here, and I had this conclusion in Parsha Noach, the indictment that the rabbinate said against the people of Noach's time, the descendants of Khan, was that they were very evil people. They literally robbed possessions and everything from people. They did horrible things. They were murderers. The same thing that's been plagued mankind for all or the thousands of years that we've been on this planet. Rise and fall of kingdoms, war. Look at what's happening in Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah. Why doesn't God destroy them like he did Sodom and Gomorrah today? Some people say California is equal to the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah today. Why doesn't God destroy them the way he did Sodom and Gomorrah? Is it because even though the sin is greater on this planet, it's not as bad as Sodom and Gomorrah? And Sodom and Gomorrah was a limited destruction effort. I mean, there was 5 cities around the Dead Sea in that time. I don't believe there was a Dead Sea before God had judged with fire and brimstone. And God repented that I will never flood the world again, despite man's wickedness. But the wickedness of Khan was much, much greater than the wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah and those cities around the Dead Sea of today in the time of Abraham. Abraham could not find anyone righteous there. He asked God to intervene. There was no one righteous. Only his nephew Lot and his family could be saved from that wretched, wretched cities. Aztec Indians were put their children through the flame, and virgins and sacrificed in fire to their heathen worship, and that's why they're not here anymore, I believe. But back to the idea here that the Nephilim came from just other men, just regular human beings. And how did regular human beings spawn a separate race, not a tribe, but a separate race of subhumans known as giants and great men of renown? You think about Hercules, right? Who in Greek myth was a demigod. Can angels have sexual relations with human beings? You think it's impossible, right? In conclusion, I'm going to give you a few examples. You remember the 3 men, the 3 righteous, virtuous men that came to Abraham's tent and announced that Sarai at 90 years old will soon have a child, and his name will be Esau? They sat down with Abraham and Sarai and had bread. I think they had lamb, had food, meat, and whatever. They had dairy, whatever. They had food. They ate. How can an angel eat like a human being unless they were inhabiting a corporeal vehicle in human form? So we have evidence right there, and no one denies that those 3 angels were Gabriel, Michael, and Raphael. And no rabbinate would disagree with that premise. And these same angels, at least 2 of them, went to Sodom and to rescue Lot and his family that were locked up in a building in their home, and evil people were trying to break in and to rape his daughters, and the angels were there in the house with him, locked up behind the door, and they wanted them, they desired them. And same-sex relationships. That's where the word Sodom and things of homosexuality, I'm not getting to this, that's where it comes from. Sodomy, okay? But anyway, these angels had to temporarily take the form of human beings to be able to cohabitate with humans, because we cannot see the supernal, we cannot see the spiritual realm, right? With our eyes, it's outside of our spectrum of our optics, of our eyesight. We cannot see or hear these things, usually. In the time of Moshe, you could see all kinds of supernatural things. God is hidden from us now. But these angels, in order for them to interact, to eat food, to take someone by the sleeve and pull them out of out of a city was about to be destroyed in fire and brimstone. Is exactly what happened. Read in Bereshit in that story. These angels, sons of Elohim, had to take form temporarily of humanoids, essentially assuming the vehicle in human form. Of course, God allowed that to happen. It's not that these angels wanted that to happen. God ordered them and tasked them to do it, just as God ordered and tasked Satan and his adversary legions to test the virtue of mankind before he was going to destroy them and wipe them out. Now, I believe Satan had an idea that he proposed because he allowed his as unique access to God's court that no other angel has as far as a prosecuting attorney of mankind. I suppose, and this is my opinion and conjecture, but it makes sense. I propose that Satan went before God. He said, "You know the evil and depravity of the sons of Khan, right? You know it's evil before your sight, and it's your reputation, Elohim, at hand. You created them in your image. You see what they're doing? I have a final test, but you have to command me to do this. I will send some of my legions there among those rulers, and I will tempt those daughters there in sexual relationship to have intercourse leading to progeny, Nephilim, that kind of thing." Now, some rabbis said the adversarial angels at some point could accidentally make mistakes and go a little bit too far outside of the scope of their assignment. I don't know if that's true, because God does not make mistakes, and God does not allow chaos and shamayim. There's no war in heaven between one group of angels and other angels, but there's definitely war on earth, still right now, among Hamas, with the adversary, trying to kill and maim and destroy the Jews in Israel, my nation. So what do you think about this? The tears of Elohim, crying through the rain clouds of Noah time, flooding the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, weeping Father for his children, weeping even for the sons and daughters of Khan that were utterly evil, so evil that not only did they have to be destroyed, but all animal and plant life too. Everything on the planet at that time had to be wiped out in a huge mikvah reset event to bring things from unclean and corruption and clean and righteousness. But there's more in there too, and in the chapter 6. It talks about that mankind has been utterly corrupted. And what more than utterly corrupted could be than the corruption of the human genome? You heard me right. If the DNA and the programming of the 23 chromosomes was corrupted, but outside external forces, like adversarial influences on us, you're talking about cancer mutation leads to death and deformities and everything else and horrible things. But if that DNA of the human genome was no longer 23 chromosomes, it was something grossly different than that, there's no amount of healing or restitution that was possible at that time. It says that mankind was utterly corrupt. There's a sequence of events and closure. The sons of God looked upon the beautiful daughters of men, and they had children through them. The next paragraph, it says, the Nephilim were giants and men of great renown, in that very next paragraph there. And then it also talks about corruption of mankind. And then there was an indictment there that God would destroy them because of that corruption. So you have rabbinites that claim one thing through their translation and their opinion, because it does not have in Hebrew rulers or men or Adam or anything else like that. It says literally, B'nai Elohim. Read it for yourself. I'm going to have it on the board for you to check. I thought this would be interesting as an addendum to today's parashat on Noach. What do you think about this? Am I scandalous for saying this? I believe what the Torah says, verbatim in Hebrew. There's only so many ways to eschew truth from the Torah before you go out into opinion land in the Talmud. And that's exactly what rabbinites have done, and twisting Hebrew when they control the Torah for so many years in the Middle Ages. They could interpret anything they wanted to, and then people would have to believe it because the rabbi's always right and you're always wrong. Sons of rulers, sons of God, aka Malachim. Interesting, right? But the bottom line is, and the last word, Rav Yaron, before I sign out, God did weep for his children. He wept, and wept. It was not easy to destroy and wipe out all humanity, something that was very, very good that he had created and spent so much time and effort on the seventh day, eternal rest, of Shabbos. It's about that Bereshit miracle of creating everything. Thank God for salvation through God. Thank God that he never has lost hope, total hope in human race. I would not be here doing this lecture. Take care. Rabbi Yaron signing out. Shalom Aleichem. God bless you. God heal you. If you're mourning for the people of Israel as I have, may God give you a light of the tikvah, a light at the end of the tunnel there. There's something to believe in. There is hope around the corner. We are living the days of Mashiach. Take care. And God bless you. God love you.